For those of you who don't know, the players have agreed to play 4 times per week, as Doug 3-bets on the right. They've agreed to play 4 times per week, 2 hours minimum each session. Kind of seems like they're going to play that 2 hours minimum basically every time. They do have the option to extend if both players agree, but they called it right after 2 hours on the Friday session. I expect most sessions will go just like that, but you never know. Maybe sometimes both of them will be feeling saucy and they'll decide to play a little bit more.
Yeah, I was expecting it to be over after 2 hours. I think if someone's getting completely smashed, it's very likely to end at 2 hours.
Yeah, definitely. 3-bet pot goes check on the flop on Jack 7-9 on the right. We get the queen turn, and DNeggs puts in the bet. Definitely a very good board for DNeggs range as the 3-bet caller. See what Doug decides to do. Doug certainly not deficient in medium and strong hands either. It's definitely not a bad board for his range, but it definitely hits Daniel's. Doug with a quick check on the 4 diamonds river. See what Daniel decides to do in this 20K pot. Quickly bet 75% for 15K. Biggest pot of the day so far, I believe. Let's see what Doug decides to do. Ooh, we have the raise all in. That is not a huge raise in relation to the first bet. This is going to be really interesting. Let's see what Daniel decides to do here. No snap, so you have to imagine. Could be a tough spot for Daniel with a hand like a queen, or could even be betting. I don't see a jack in it playing this way too often, but he could have that. Be very interesting to see what Doug has if this hand goes to showdown, and it does. Doug with the bluff, Daniel with the 2-pair. Good call from Daniel. Definitely not a hand you can really fold versus a player as aggressive as Doug Polk, but maybe he was thinking that raise was so small, it was only a 2.5x raise over the river bet. So yeah, maybe he was thinking Doug's just not going to be bluffing often like that, but it's Doug Polk, and he was. Got the 4-bet from DNeggs on the left. Call from Doug's playing a 4-bet pot. We get the 10-10-5 board. In general, this is going to just be better for Doug. Probably does have more 10s, but in general, DNegg's range is just going to be a lot stronger here as the 4-better, so he's going to be able to leverage that advantage and bet small as he does 4,000 into 20,000. You tend to pretty much in every 4-bet pot bet small like that, so there's only a handful of boards, I believe, that you actually really change that size.
What would they be? The middle connected boards?
I would imagine. I would imagine so. Yeah, ones that just kind of smash hands that only the 3-bet or the 4-bet caller can have a lot more. Mm-hmm. Now it looks like Daniel going for the bet on the very small bet on the turn. He had about a pot size bet behind, and he went for the small bet, which certainly fine in a 4-bet pot with how big of an advantage he has. Doug does call. Daniel has half the pot left in his stack in the river in this 40K pot, and he checks back and wins with ace-king high.
Wow. We had a 2.5x 4-bet and then a call by Doug on the left table. Just another 20%-ish sizing, 20. I don't know. That's I thought this was a board that would be a little bit of a heavier size, just because it is a little bit more connected than the one earlier. But I feel like I've only seen Daniel use the 20% size today.
Jack 7-3, it's still pretty dry for a 4-bet pot, I would say. Like, it's not quite enough of dynamism, if that's a word, to kind of warrant using a larger size.
Yeah, if that 7's like a 9 or a 10, you would expect it to be a bigger sizing mixed in there.
Doug check jams the turn. He is relentless indeed. See what Daniel decides to do in this pretty large pot. We're going to see a roughly 115K pot if he gets called here. But Doug's going to drag 75K. It's going to bring them much closer to even on the day. C-bet from D-Negs on Ace Jack 8. So yeah, anyway, if you guys have anyone you want to see commentate, if you want to commentate, you know, either DM or rather tweet at Upswing, maybe tweet at the person you want to see commentate, ask them to reach out to us to commentate, you know, like blow them up. Like let's get them on the stream. We would love to have whoever. There's going to be so freaking many of these things. So, to the point that we're probably even going to have to just like play music on some of them because like we can't just always have commentators necessarily. Which, by the way, I'm curious on that. What are your guys' thoughts, the chat, on doing these streams? Like, say it's just like a random Wednesday. This stream is live, with just like some chill hop music playing in the background. You could listen to the music or not, just mute it. We've kind of been considering doing that sometimes because it's just a little easier to operate. And there's gonna be so many of these. Excited to see what you guys say as we have a large bet from Daniel on the river on the left. He does get called, and he shows Doug a very strong hand, top 2. Lurky Longtime asks, how high is the rake in this match? It's actually 0 rake. They're giving it back to the players. WSOP is. So yeah, this is a 0 rake challenge. Check down pot on the left, and Doug's gonna put in the first post flop bet. Quick call from Daniel. Doug wins with a king that he turned.
What's Fold with a good question here, talking about the EV of Daniel's career. If this match could actually have been smart for him, even if he loses a lot of money, to improve his game in the future and potentially win some more bracelets. He's lost a bunch heads up for bracelets, so I'd have to think that getting really deep into heads up for a month straight with good coaches will help him in the long run. Yeah,
most certainly. We see an overbet from Doug here on the right. Yeah, just on that, just being a good heads up player makes you a much, much better poker player overall. It's a very technical game, requires a really, really in-depth knowledge of it. And a lot of people who play heads up tend to be really good at other game types too. So yeah, this is definitely going to be good for Daniel's career, win or lose. And he can definitely afford to lose anyway. See what Doug decides to do after overbetting the turn here. He jams all in for 3x pot. That's almost 4x pot. Wow, let's see what Daniel decides to do. Yeah, 3x pot. Not almost 4x pot at all. That is a very large bet.
I gotta say, at the stakes that I play, this would be for value about 1,000% of the time.
Indeed. This could be a cookie jar situation, though, like someone just suggested.
I just want to speculate what kind of hands would do this. Like, would 6-3 do this, knowing he has to turn his pair into a bluff where he has blockers to the nuts? Like, what kind of hands do this?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, you almost certainly want to have you're going to want to have a blocker of some kind. You know, whether it be like blocking the pair that you think is important to block, because maybe you want to block certain 2 pairs. So, for example, like having a hand like 5-6 here could make sense because you block the hand, the exact, yeah, exactly. So we see a Doug scoop a big pot here. Daniel, that's a really, really tough spot for Daniel in the river. But that exact situation, when you have 5-6 in Doug's spot, you block a hand like King 5, a river 2 pair, and that's sort of the most risk. That's like the most likely hand that he could have that's very strong that will call you. So you'd probably want to have a hand like 5-6 there, and you block the straight with a hand like that as well. Three bet from Daniel gets called by Doug on the left. Small c-bet on the dry board, as expected. Call from Doug. 2 hearts turn. Doug betting the turn after Daniel check back the flop on the right. And Daniel does call. Daniel double barreling on the left in a 3-bet pot. And Doug raises. Could see this pot start to balloon. This sets up about a river shove, pot-sized river shove. And Daniel raises on the right versus a second bet from Doug. A couple interesting spots here. So Doug bet the turn after Daniel checked back the flop on the right. Then Daniel called, and then he followed through with a bet, which Daniel raises. On the left, Daniel 3-bet. Doug called. Daniel c-bet small on the flop, then double barreled, also small. And then at that point, Doug put in a nice sized raise. See what happens in both these spots. Doug checks back with king high and actually wins it with king high here versus the worst king high. Did not expect to see 2 king highs in that 40K pot, but there it was. Interesting raise on the turn from Doug, blocking both ace king and ace jack, 2 of the hands that Daniel is most likely to have that will certainly call a turn raise.
Oh yeah, and sorry guys, anyone who's asking questions, the chat is moving so fast. If you tweet at us or at Upswing, you'll get an answer. If it's a burning question, you can't sleep at night.
Yeah, if something's real important, tweet at Upswing and we'll definitely answer you at some point. Maybe not on the stream, but you'll get answered. So it looks like Doug is going to book a very, very strong win in this next round of the challenge. His win is, we don't have the exact number yet. We will on upswingpoker.com/heads-up-for-grudge pretty soon. We'll have that up when Doug gets it to us. Doug will also probably tweet it. So if you're not following Doug, go check him out. And he will tweet the results. But it looks like Doug is probably going to be up about 300K overall now that this session is over. Yes, a couple people speculating in chat it's over 200K. I mean, yeah, I could definitely see it being that much. So he's going to be up 300K now in this challenge, just under 8 buy-ins, I believe. So yeah, pretty strong start for Doug, especially after the week start when he played live and lost a couple buy-ins or 3 buy-ins. So yeah, good stuff.